difficult topic. Yeah. It's actually a very difficult topic, impractical to handle, and especially for the parents and also for the professionals. So, and this managing difficult behaviors in autism can vary from child to child. In today's webinar, or more or less, it's basically an interactive session. So we try to figure out the basics how to approach difficult behaviors in autism. No doubt, the approach has to be tailored as per the needs of the child. And as we rightly say always, that parents are the best therapists. We are just to guide you how we can work, but you can take ideas and ultimately, uh, at the root level, the things has to be done by the parents. So here we'll be discussing a broad approach how we can manage and how we can look about these behaviors in children. So managing difficult behaviors in autism. So first of all, what is basically behavior means?
Doctor, if you could go to slideshow mode. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And maybe the
So,
key points, if you could just repeat in Hindi or a mix of Hindi and English. Yeah, it will be
yeah,
good.
yeah, sure. So what is behavior basically? First of all, we should understand what does behavior mean. So behavior is a way in which one acts or conduct itself, especially towards others. So in a very simple language, कोई भी बच्चा दूसरे के प्रति या दूसरे के सामने किस तरीके से रिएक्ट करता है उसको हम बिहेवियर बोलते हैं. Now, behavior in a very, I would say, in a normal term, it can be a notorious child. We can say notorious बच्चा है, ठीक है, or it may be a I would say pampered child, or it may be actually he is throwing tantrums, or it may be a result of autism. So here the important thing is, does that behavior which is happening in a particular child, a child, is it as a result of autistic behavior or it is the result of other behaviors? Now in today's lecture, it is important to distinguish this autistic behavior from rest of the behaviors. Now rest of the behaviors means tantrums, pampered child, notorious child, etc. etc. So that is not a concern. Our concern is that an autistic behavior or is that an XYZ behavior? If it is an autistic behavior, how we have to do it? So the first and foremost thing is to distinguish whether it is an autistic behavior or whether it is a naughtiness, notorious, ordinary naughtiness or whatever. Now, important thing to remember is here we are dealing with parents who are on the spectrum, their children are on the spectrum, so it is especially related to autistic behavior. But one thing is very, very important, a behavior in autistic child doesn't always mean that it is the result of autistic behavior. Even it can come as a notorious behavior, it can come as a pampered child, even it can come as a, I would say, temper tantrum. So even in an autistic child, it is very, very important to distinguish, is that behavior occurring actually as a result of autistic behavior or it is due to other parameters. So these are the basic things which we have to look at upon. So once we are able to that, once we come on the conclusion of these two factors, it becomes very easy to approach. So I would say from now I will distinguish whether it is a misbehavior or it is an autistic behavior. So generally, if we see that what are the various types of behaviors which we see in children who are on the spectrum. So these are some of the behaviors. Now these difficult behaviors are generally termed as self-injurious behaviors. Self-injurious means the term is written self-injurious, but I would say it is an injurious behavior. Why? Because they can damage themselves and they can cause harm to others. They may be biting, they may be headbanging, they may be pushing others, they may be screaming or maybe throwing things, they may be picking, they may be pulling the hairs, they may be scratching their own skin or other skin, or they may be, you can say, forceful shaking of their body. They may be head banging or to and fro motions, or they may be pushing the other children. So all these behaviors are considered to be difficult behaviors or self-injurious behaviors. And we know that about half of the autistic people engage in self-injurious behaviors at some point of time in their lifetime. That is very true. It's never possible that any child who is on the spectrum, irrespective of its severity of the spectrum of the severity, the child will definitely throw some behaviors in his lifetime. Either it may be more in terms of severity, depending upon the severity of the behavior. So, keeping that thing aside, whenever a behavior comes or a difficult behavior comes in a child, how we have to approach. So, these are some of the examples where we generally come across about the behaviors in children on the spectrum. So generally what happens? Suppose एक बच्चा है, उसने it's a very practical scenario I will give you. A child is parents maybe on the first time they are going in a party. They have a child who is 5 to 6 years who is on the spectrum, maybe moderate to severe or maybe moderate with sensory issues definitely will be there. They are going out in a party and Anvita, can you please mute the participants and I request the participants to kindly mute
Yes,
yourself.
I just muted them. I'll just hold on, doctor. Don't
Yes.
just hold on speaking for a moment. Someone kid might have unmuted. Yeah, should be fine now, doctor. Please carry on. Yeah.
Yeah, fine. So suppose they are going out in a party or at a birthday party, the child suddenly when it enters in the party room, he suddenly starts screaming. He suddenly starts, if he sees some child, he starts pushing them. He may be throwing things, he may be screaming. Now, what will be our general approach toward that? Why are you shouting? What happened? The mother will be shouting at the child. The mother will be frustrated. The mother will be telling, "What are you doing? What is this?" The other people will be telling, "Notorious child, आप इसको समझाते क्यों नहीं हो? ऐसा क्यों behave कर रहा है? आप strict नहीं हो." Now that is the saying of the other people. That is their thought for that child. But as a parent, as a professional, or as a caregiver, forget about the professional, as a caregiver, since we know that our child is in the spectrum and he has sensory issues, so instead of directly approaching to stop the behavior, the important thing is what was the cause of that? Why did the child behave in such a particular way? Generally, we forget about this thing. We generally come and directly approach to stop that behavior, irrespective of the fact we are not thinking or we are not giving a minute of a time to think why the child has thrown that behavior. So it is very, very important to always think before scolding, before approaching to stop that behavior, why the child threw that behavior. It is very, very important. So, what are the causes for those behaviors or self-injurious behaviors? Sensory challenges, social communication challenges, medical issues, tangible behaviors, avoidance, escape, temper tantrums. Now, I'll be giving you practical examples of all these in a just one examples. Then we'll be discussing on the live question and answer session. Depending upon that, we'll be able to clarify more. Sensory challenges, as I have told you, the child has gone out in a party. He may be visual schemer, or he may not be able to tolerate so much noises of others, or he may get overwhelmed by the so much sounds, so much crowd. So he may got in a stage of sensory overload, or what we call the meltdown. So as a result, he may start shouting, he may start screaming, he may start throwing things. So in that case, what will happen? As I've told you, the mother will be shouting or the parents will be telling why you're doing this. So before going to that, we have to see why that happened. Social communication challenges. The child may be going out, the child may be very comfortable in a home, but when he's going in a class of 30 or even 40, for the first time after a lockdown, or first time when he's entering the school, he may be started, he may be started screaming, he may started showing stimming, he may be flapping his hands, he may be throwing things, he may be playing with the wires, he may be touching other children. The thing might be because he might be not able to communicate his needs. He might suppose he wants to go to a toilet or he wants, he's thirsty. He may be taking the bottle, he may be taking a bottle or throwing, or he may be pointing something. He may be doing some mischief behavior so that he can gain attention towards him, the attention of the teacher towards him, so that he can able to tell what exactly he wants. Because he is not able to express, so that may be a frustration level that may result in all those behaviors. Now, medical issues. Definitely, they may be having stomach gut issues. They may be having fever. They may be having colic pain. They may be having adenoids. Whatever may be the symptoms, they may be having cough and cold, which they may not be able to express. So some of the other things they may start aggravating. They may be either throwing, they may be screaming, they may be shouting, they may be tapping, whatever may be doing, because they are not able to hold, they may not be able to express. So they want to do something mischief. They want to do something so that the teacher or the caregiver or anybody gains attention towards them. Avoidance and escape, it's a very common or usual behavior which happens, that if you are taking with a child and you are trying to teach him something and he's not interested in it, again he may be throwing things, he may be doing something mischief. So in that case, what will happen? Why are you doing this? What are you doing? Instead of doing that, directly approaching why the child has done that. So these are some of the causes which we have to look upon. Now there is a very important now temper tantrums and sensory meltdowns. Now, temper tantrums and sensory meltdowns, in order to begin initially, they occur exactly in the same manner. But there is a difference between a tantrum and the sensory meltdown. For example, a child, you are going out in a mall and child wants some toy and you are not giving him. So he will be start screaming. Remember, he is in the spectrum. He may be start screaming, he may be shouting, and suddenly when his demand is met, after some time he'll be happy, he'll be met. So the thing is, he was throwing tantrums for that particular thing, or you can say tangible for that particular thing he wanted. So that settles down. Now, temper tantrums is a very common even in a neurotypical child, which generally occurs in the toddler age group between 2.5 or 3.5 to 5 years. It's a common thing. But it doesn't mean that doesn't occur in a neurodiverse child. It occurs even in them also. But you have to distinguish whether it is a temper tantrum or it is a sensory meltdown. Now, taking an example of sensory meltdown in this same example, what will happen? Suppose he's shouting, he's screaming, he wants that toy. He's a verbal child, but he wants that toy. You gave him the toy. Now, in spite of that, he's keep on shouting, he's keep on screaming, he's clapping his hands, he's rolling on the floor, he's shouting, screaming. You are trying all the efforts to make him stop, but he's still doing that thing. Now, that is meltdown. Now, why does that meltdown happen? That is very, very important. Either it may be because of the sensory overload. Again, he has gone into the mall. There may be auditory insensitivity issues might be there in the child. There may be so much crowd. He may be overwhelmed. He may get sensory overload by seeing so much crowd. He might not have seen, or he might not be. His sensory system is not balanced enough to tolerate that much sensory input coming from all different sides of this mall, which can tolerate and his brain can bear. So that might be the issue. So in that case, the approach comes out to be totally different compared to a temper. So these are some of the causes which are always very important to look in a child why he is showing that. So what is a meltdown? As I was telling, a meltdown is an intense response to an overwhelming situation. As I have told you, that overwhelming situation can be, it's actually these are countless overwhelming situations. To mention a few, it can be just a visual bright light. It can be the noise of a washing machine. It can be a noise of a pressure cooker. It can be a telephonic talk between the parent or his friend. Anything can disturb the child. Even the bright lights which are there in the room, even when the teacher is speaking.
Doctor, sorry, your voice is getting very flaky. Initially, it was a little less, but now because we are recording also the thing, and many
Just a
parents are
minute.
saying, yeah,
Yeah, just a
many
minute.
parents are saying they're not able to hear you properly.
Just a minute.
Yeah, yeah.
I just
Initially, it was a bit flaky, but I thought it would settle down. But now it started becoming totally this thing. We're missing out words.
now is it okay?
Better. Can you just speak a line or something again?
What is a meltdown is? A meltdown is an intense response.
Better. Yes, yes.
Okay,
Better.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah. Sorry for the interruption. So, what we were talking about the meltdown. So, what is basically a meltdown? As I've explained in the previous example, a meltdown is an intense response to an overwhelming situation. As I've told, it can occur due to plenty of causes. It can be a bright light. It can be a teacher when he's taking a class of 30 to 40 children. It can be a sound of a normal routine, things like pressure cooker, washing machines. So it can be an overcrowded situation like a mall, or it can be a burst of a simple thing like a balloon. So these are so many. There are plenty of examples which can cause a meltdown in any child who is having high sensation. So it is very very important to look at why that meltdown happened and why that behavior happened. So as a result of which, what happened? This loss of control can be expressed verbally, as I've told you. Now, this meltdown basically comes in a form of, I would say, self-injurious or difficult behaviors. Either they may be screaming, they may be shouting, they may be physically like kicking, lashing out, fighting. So that has happened as a consequence of meltdown. So our approach generally happens that we are targeting only that behavior why it has happened as a result of consequence of meltdown, rather than thinking why that behavior has happened. So our approach should be that why does that meltdown happen? what was that antecedent thing? What was that situation which caused my child to go into a meltdown? If we are able to figure out in more than 50% of the cases, we will be able to tackle the behavior of the child. So this is very important. Now, I won't go into the details of the stages of meltdown, but just quickly I will tell there are basically three stages of meltdown: rumbling, rage, and recovery. Now, rumbling is a stage where the child will give you an indication that now he will go in a stage of meltdown in another, I would say, 2 to 3 minutes or maybe 5 minutes. In this stage, you will find the child will go in a stage of discomfort. He may be twitching his hands. He maybe start doing nail biting. Maybe tensing his muscles. You might have seen whenever there is a stage of meltdown happens in a child, observe your child whenever it happens in future, that initially going to a complete meltdown, he will start showing those irregular behaviors. He may be looking here and there, he may be twitching his hands, he may be starting showing nail biting. Then the anxiety issues maybe start building up in a child, or he may be a state of discomfort certainly. So that indicates now the stage of rumbling, the child is in the stage of rumbling, or it is the first stage. Now this is the stage where we can stop the child. Generally, what happens when a child goes into a meltdown, you will keep trying your efforts, calm down, but you will not be able to do that because the child has crossed the stage of grumbling and has gone into the stage of rage. Now, once he goes into this stage of rage, he will start doing all those mischief behaviors, throwing things, fighting, hitting, all physical sorts of behaviors and injurious behaviors. Now, in this stage, it is not possible to stop the child. Is just like I would say is just like a mechanism in the body. Once it is considered to be in this stage, you can't recover the child back. It now this full stage of meltdown will occur after recovery. Now this whole stage of meltdown can vary from child to child from a period of 15 minutes to a period of 2 hours. If he has crossed this stage of I would say if he has crossed the stage of rumbling and has gone into the stage of rage, then it is not possible to stop the child. Then the best thing is let the child go into the stage of meltdown, let his meltdown finish, and it will be easier to then bring back the child to a normal physiological state. So if you try to disturb the child in that stage of rage, where he starts showing self-injurious behavior, it will be practically very difficult to bring him back. He might aggravate it. So it's best always stop the child when he's in the stage of rumbling. Now approach. Now this is very important. This is the most important slide for us. If parents want, they can take a snapshot of it. There is nothing new. Everything is available in YouTube and Google. But again, we always forget to do an approach in this way. ABC. Now this should be fixed in our mind. We should have an image of this. ABC is very important in any sort of behavior. Antecedent, behavior, and consequence. Rather than directly acting on the behavior, which in 90% of the cases we do, it's because it's our prompt, it's our human response, impulsive response that he has done that, we should stop it. So always ask the question yourself why the behavior has happened. And imagine yourself in that state and ask yourself if I would be in a state of spectrum and if I would be having my sensory issues so high like my child, what would I have done and what would have triggered my this thing in myself. So if you are able to get that why question, you will be able to tackle the behaviors in 50% of cases. Teach replacement behavior. We will discuss in one or two slides what exactly replacement behavior means. So antecedent. Antecedent means before the behavior, what was the thing which was happening and why that behavior happened. And as a result of that behavior, what thing has happened or what negative thing has happened, that is the consequence. So we have to approach in this manner. Then what is this replacement behaviors? Replacement behaviors means it's the appropriate behavior that results in the same type of reinforcement as a problem. For example, I'll give you an example. So I'll just read out the definition, then I'll give you an example. For example, for attention problem behaviors, replacement behaviors will result in attention. So the replacement behavior should be easier and more effective that result in reinforcement more consistent than a problem. For example, child is very fond of writing and he always scribbles on the walls, he always scribbles on the wall. The mother approach will be, why are you writing on the wall? Stop it. He won't stop it. Either he will be, if he is in a high sensory overload, or if you are telling me again and again, he may be do avoidance behavior or for an attention seeking. For a minute he will stop, again he will be start doing. You will say no, you will start hitting or you will shouting, he will do no because he is getting that attention from the parent. That is what we call attention seeking. So in this case, what we can do, we start doing a replacement. The child should continue doing that, but we should replace him with some other sort of thing. He may not be writing on a paper, he may not doesn't write, he continuously writes to what on the wall. So in that case, if he's not able to do with the replacement behavior, we have to provide him with a consequence. Okay, if you're writing on the behavior, you have to rub the complete wall. This should be the consequence which should be given to him. Now it should be fixed every time. If you are lenient in this, then it will become a problem, because in that case the child will win the race and he will know that doesn't matter, mama will allow me one or two times, she will tell me to rub the door or rub the wall, then next time she will forget, I'll continue to do that. So you should always win in that race whenever it is happening during that. My voice is clear, Upanvita?
Um, I would not say it's flawless. It's there is some kind of a noise that's coming along with your voice, like kind of.
Uh, just a minute, just a
mm,
minute. You tell me if it is happening, otherwise it will
No,
be.
but every time I feel bad to stop your flow also. Yeah.
Just a minute, just a minute. I'll just see this.
See, now when you speak, it's better. I think, is it about the distance? Do you have some kind of,
Okay, I'll just come closer to the laptop
maybe
and then
it's
I'll talk.
some cooler or is anything, any sound also could be, or
Just a minute.
yeah.
I think now it will be better.
Yeah, just let's see. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Uh, yeah. So replacement behavior, I was telling. So suppose a child is writing on the wall continuously, and he is very fond of writing on the wall with a pencil. And if you want, the parent tells him, no, you don't write on the wall, but he keep on writing on that. So in that case, either we can replace him with some sort of thing so that he gets the same pleasure which he was writing on the wall. Either we can give him some, some paper, or we can give him some hard, whatever may be the thing, so that it is not causing any harm, it is not causing any negative behavior, but he's getting that same pleasure with a reinforcement. Or another thing is that if he doesn't want to write, he keeps on writing on the wall, whatever sort of replacement behavior you give him. You provide him with a consequence that, okay, if you want to write on the wall, you have to rub the complete wall every time. So he might be doing one, two, three, four, but ultimately you should be stick on your target that every time whenever you write on the wall, it has to be clean by you. For example, there may be mealtime behaviors, maybe because of oromotor, etc., oromotor issues or any other things. Suppose he's writing, he's on a, during the mealtime, we have provided him some food. He's throwing the food. He's showing tantrums. He don't want to eat the food. He wants to eat the Maggie only, and he's throwing the food again and again. So in that case, again, you can provide him with a consequence. Okay, you have done this behavior. You have to pick up the meal from the ground, clean the floor, but that has to be consistent every time. He might be doing one, he might be doing five, he might be doing 10 times. There is a saying that you have to provide that thing at least for 10 times before you think that your approach is not correct. Then you have to provide an alternative. Anything that whenever you are doing something, you don't think that, okay, I have provided that consequence three to four times, still he's doing that. My work is not, I'm not able to handle that thing, or probably the consequence which I'm giving is not correct. I will switch off to another behavior. No, that is not the thing. There is a general thing, at least 10 times you have to expose that thing. If it is not feasible and if you are not succeeded in that, then you have to change the approach. So 10 times is the basic rule. Then these are some of the examples of replacement behaviors. For example, for the purpose now antecedent, attention. The child may want to seek the attention from the, I would say, from the teacher in the classroom. He may not be, communicate enough. As I was telling you, social communication. So in order to, suppose he want to go to the toilet, he's not able to express that thing. He's not that much need-based speech. So he maybe start running here and there in the room. He may start tamping the floor. He may be spending time with other, or he may be throwing things. So in that case, This is basically he wants to give an indication to the mother, to the teacher that probably I want to go to the toilet, or he may be an attention. That's exactly what he's doing. So you replace it with a systematic behavior, what we call as a replacement behavior, which doesn't cause any harm and which is generally socially accepted and also will give him a good way of tackling things and approaching the needs, how to we can connect with the third people. For example, we can teach him to raise your hand if you want to gain an attention from the teacher, or if you want to tell something because he's not able to express those things, so you can raise the hand. Another thing is that, for example, escape behaviors. Like as I was telling you that if you are teaching him some mathematics or anything, but he's not interested, he is interested in playing a game. So in that case, what he will start doing things, he may be doing mischief. So in that case, what you can do, you give him a replacement. Okay, if you will do this, we will give you a break. Or you can tell him, okay, if you will do this task, we will give you a laptop for so much. So these all sorts of behaviors will help in basically helping out to deal with those behaviors while the child is doing. So here another thing is that important like sensory behaviors. As I've told, for example, the child is going out. Suppose he's going in a mall and he starts screaming and shouting. So you know that now today we are going in a mall and there will be a lot of crowd. The child may start throwing things. He may start going to stage of stimming. He may be in a sensory overload. So in that case, what you can do, you can first prepare the child that okay, you will be going out, we'll be going in a mall. Show them the visual demonstration, or in that case, you can do some replacement behavior. For example, he starts hitting you. He goes in a state of meltdown and he starts hitting you. He starts showing mischief. You give him some replacement. For example, you give him some squeeze balls. Now, if you can give him some squeeze balls so that he can squeeze that, his anxiety levels can come down, or you can give him some cushion, whatever may be, so that he, instead of hitting you, he can hit on the pillow. So these are some of the replacement behaviors which we can work with. Now the list is endless. It's just an examples to explain that what all things we can do when those behaviors happen. So, behavior monitoring. Again, as I've told you, behavior intervention is done as we have told ABC approach and the replacement. Now, replacement behaviors have to be done through two approaches, what we call as pro-social strategies, that is positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement. Now, there is some confusion that it happens. What do we mean by reinforcement? First of all, reinforcement means we provide something to the child, or we can remove something from the child in order to provide a positive behavior in the child. Now, positive reinforcement means we give some positive thing to the child so that the behavior occurs in a positive manner. Negative reinforcement doesn't mean then we provide something to the child which results in a negative behavior. No. Generally, negative reinforcement, there is a misnomer that we think that negative reinforcement means we provide something to the child which results in a negative behavior. No. Negative reinforcement means we are removing something from the child in order to give him, in order to provide him an appropriate good behavior. Reinforcer means providing or removing something from the child. So positive means you are providing something to the child so that it gets a conducive environment so that he goes in a positive, he behaves in an appropriate manner. Negative reinforcement means you are removing something from the child so that his behavior occurs in an appropriate good manner. So these are the things which I was telling. So replacement behaviors happen in this way. Suppose again, I will tell you, like suppose he's hitting a child, he's continuously hitting the child or is pulling the hairs. So in that case, you provide him some positive reinforcement. So instead of that, you provide him with a sandbag and tell him, okay, you hit on this bag continuously, continuously, so that that sensory input or that extra craving which is there in his hands, that calms down. Other thing, another example of positive reinforcement is suppose through a replacement behavior. Suppose he's having high oromotor sensory issues. He's hypersensitive. He's a sensory craving. He takes a lot of non-edible things in the mouth. Everything he takes hard, crunchy things, bag, what I would say, some toys or other things, hard things, non-edible things in the mouth. So instead of that, you provide him with some replacement behavior through positive reinforcement. So positive reinforcement means we are giving something to the child. So in this case, you can give him some carrot, the hard portion of the carrot, so that he can continue to chew that. So that sensory needs will be met by the child through those carrot. Now carrot is no harmful. It's basically a positive thing. It will also help in chewing, and those sensory needs will also be met by the child. So here we are providing something to the child so that his behavior goes in a positive way. So this is positive reinforcement. An example of a negative reinforcement means you are giving a bath to the child. Now it's a winter season and you are giving a bath to the child and the shower is on and the cold water comes. Now, instead cold water comes, he's not able to manage that temperature of the water because of the thermal sensory issues or temperature variation. He starts maybe screaming suddenly, whatever is there in the hand, he may throw the soap case suddenly. So in that case, what you can do, you are not able to figure out, and then suddenly you figure out, okay, the temperature might be the thing. So in that case, what you are doing, you are giving him hot water. You just modify the temperature of the shower and now the child becomes comfortable. His behavior, his tantrum, because that sensory or the fluctuation in the temperature of the water disturbed the child. So when you give him the hot water or the lukewarm water, he became comfortable. So here both examples are there. Positive reinforcement means you are adding a lukewarm water to the child. That means you are making warm water. Negative reinforcement means you are removing the cold water from it. So these here, the both examples are working positive and negative, so that the behavior comes out to be a positive. So this is an example I was telling that, for example, this is the same thing which I was telling. Like manager praises the employee, positive reinforcement means positive behavior followed by positive consequence. So what happens here? The manager praises the employee. So he is giving a positive reinforcement and as a result, he behaves in a positive way. Negative reinforcement, what happens? The manager continuously nags the employee, so he behaves in a very negative way. He's showing all sorts of behavior. He's not doing the task properly. So what did the manager do? The manager stopped nagging the employee. So here, as a result, the employee starts behaving in a positive manner. He completed the task. He was punctual. So here, the negative reinforcer is that nagging which the manager was doing, he removed it from his behavior or he removed it from his attitude. So as a result, the employee started behaving in a positive manner. So these were some of, this was the quick review about the behaviors approach in our children. And this actually is a very vast topic, but actually the instructions which was given to me exactly was that we have to be very short and we will be more in for an interactive session. So I'll be open to the discussion now with the parents on the basis of this lecture.
Thank you.
Hello.
Yeah,
Hello?
yeah, we'll take up questions one by one. May I know who is this? Who is speaking?
Sushma.
Sushma. Okay, yeah. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you, sir, for the wonderful webinar. Sir, my son is 6.5 years. Actually, before asking anything, he first starts screaming, sir. That is the one thing, like for food or something. Not every time, but sometimes he screams for the food. And even after explaining him number of times, and even after telling also, he'll do the same thing. After brushing also, immediately he needs breakfast. I'll show him that I'm putting dosa on the pan. See, it is about to cook. You have to wait. I'll make him wait for 10 count. I'll tell all those things. But daily the same behavior will go on. Almost I'm working on this since many days. But when it comes to the food, he's not able to wait for that, sir.
Okay. So basically, I would say food is basically a reinforcer for him. And
Yes, sir.
he's a very he's a basically, I would say, he's very foodie, and
Yes.
waiting time is not there in when you come in terms of food.
Yes, sir.
So these are the basically three things. So reinforcer. Now one thing we have got in your child, that food is a reinforcer for him. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
what
sir.
you have to do? What do you have to do? Okay, you want food. You want food. Whatever is the name. Okay, I would say, for example, Ayan. Okay, Ayan. If you want food, if you want dosa, you have to wait here for 10 minutes, or start with a count of 10 as you have told. And is there any particular food which he likes?
Almost all he will like, sir. Food, everything he will be
Okay, okay,
likable. But
okay.
the thing is, when it is time of breakfast, he'll not allow me to give snacks.
He will not allow you to give snacks.
Yeah, sir. These days he started. Before he used to do like if I give snacks also, he was okay with that. Till I prepare breakfast, he's okay with the snacks. But these days, since 1 month or 2 months, if it is breakfast time or lunch time, and sometimes it will be like 10-20 minutes late, and like that. Now, sir, he's
Okay,
not allowing me to give snacks. He's
okay.
crying if I'm giving snacks also.
Okay, see, first and foremost important thing is what time the breakfast is being given in the morning. Second thing, Suppose the breakfast, first the thing you have to judge what time is the breakfast is giving. Is the child feeling too much hungry? Is he able to express is he able to express that mama I am hungry, I want food? If he's not able to express that thing, probably he may be shouting that I am hungry, I want food. So suppose if you are giving a breakfast at 10 o'clock, maybe just I'm giving an example, and in the
Yes, sir.
morning he's not taking anything, so try to reduce that duration by less than 1 hour. Start giving him at 9 o'clock and see if he's comfortable. Observe that behavior. Suppose you are giving a breakfast at 10 o'clock and you start preparing the food by 9:30 until 10 the food is ready. Now during that 9:30 to 10, he is showing all those behaviors. He is not able to wait even for 1 minute, even in spite of your instructions. So probably the time 9 to 9:30 is the time where he gets too much hungry. He's not able to resist that. He may not
Yes,
be
sir.
able to express you that mama I am hungry, I want food, because he may not be able to express that much need-based speech may not be there. That is why he's crying. So
Yes.
you just reduce the time of giving the breakfast to 9 o'clock, and then see how that behavior happens from 8:30 to 9. And suppose if that doesn't happen, then you start using the consequence. That okay, if you want breakfast, you have to be keep quiet for a minute of 10 minutes. Mama has prepared the breakfast today early by 1 hour. Even if you will not wait, you will get the breakfast by the same time which I was giving you earlier at 10 o'clock. And that has to be fixed. You fix it for 2 days. Let's see then how it works. So I've
Okay, sir.
given you both the options, replacement, you reduce the time and the consequence.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, sir. Sir, one more doubt, sir.
Yes.
Actually, because of lockdown, we are not going down for the play area and all.
Hmm.
As now it is a little bit okay. Recently, last Sunday, I had sent my daughter and my son to a play area.
Hmm.
I told him that he should not remove the mask. I explained him that whatever you want to do, you can do, but you can play. But if you want anything, you have to ask your sister. You have to come and ask, please. You should not cry. I told all the things, sir.
Hmm.
Generally, before lockdown, he used to listen all these things and he used to behave in that way.
Hmm.
Actually, he's non-verbal.
Hmm.
Uh, in January, my daughter has taken him to a gym house, which
Hmm.
was closed now.
Hmm.
He remembered that he went there and he wanted to go that place.
Hmm.
She was explaining him that the place is closed. He was showing all the temper tantrums at that time that he
Hmm.
wants to go. He doesn't want to play anything. He just want to go to the gym.
Hmm.
How can
Okay.
I handle like that situation, sir?
See. First of all, you have to accept that anxiety levels has increased a lot in every person. Forget about the children. It has increased a lot in even the adults, even the parents, everybody. The
Yes.
lockdown is such a thing which has caused a lot of psychological disturbances in us.
Yeah.
So definitely, once the child was used to that, gym for every day before the lockdown, and suddenly he has been stopped from going to that activities. Probably he might be getting that sensory input. He might be getting that, channelization of the energy through those activities, physical activities. Now he has been not able to go to those gym because of the lockdown, so has been completely at the home. So here what you can do, provide those activities at through with the child at home. You can provide him with gym ball activities to which he was doing at the gym. Provide him some ladder activities depending upon the ability of the child. Means, see, I don't know the ability of
Actually,
the
he
child.
went only 2 times, sir, for the gym. He went only 2 to 3 times, not more. He
Hmm.
liked the treadmill. So he wants to go to gym for that treadmill.
Okay, see, if it is doing a tantrum, you don't have to give any response. You just wait. See, there are two things. If the child is doing attention-seeking behavior, then the best thing is you have to avoid the situation. Don't give any eye contact. Just tell him, okay, the gym is closed. If you want to go, you go. I'm going out. You
Okay.
just wait and stop. Don't keep arguing, because if you keep on arguing, he will be getting that response and he will be getting the attention, which exactly what he wants, because
Okay.
he's not that much speech. So definitely need-based speech. So definitely he'll be talking through you through the attention seeking. So
Okay.
don't give him any attention. Don't give him any eye contact. Just give a very small response in a very simple word. The gym is closed. We are going. That's
Okay.
it. Then
Okay.
see what he behaves. Even if it doesn't go, you move, hide from that place. Don't look at him directly, and definitely after some period of time, when he settles down, he will look at that.
Okay.
Okay, we will just one small request. We'll move on. There are other parents also who are waiting to interact with the doctor. Sushma, if you are done, we'll move on to the next question from there. People who have raised hands from a long time.
Thank you,
So
ma'am.
yeah. Thank you so much. We'll come back to you if anything else is there. Yeah, Aryan, you can go ahead now and speak. Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Sir, thanks for the wonderful session first. My son is 3 years, 11 months. And my problem is that whenever he wants something, he is quite verbal. He shows his necessities also. He tells time by time, I'm hungry, I'm thirsty, मुझे पानी दे दो, खाना दे दो, like this. But problem is that जब उसे किसी चीज के लिए no किया जाता है कि आप ये नहीं कर सकते हो, at that time he starts scratching his head and start pinching me or start hitting that person. आपका जो rumbling से range तक का मेरा area है, मतलब time slap है, वो मेरा seconds का हो जाता है. मीन्स इमीडिएटली वो रेज पर आ जाता है, रंबलिंग का तो टाइम ही नहीं देता. फिर वो लाई डाउन हो जाता है फ्लोर पर, फिर वो मेल्ट डाउन इशू हो जाता है. इट टुक्स ऑलमोस्ट हाफ एन आवर, समटाइम 1 hour. मैंने बहुत कोशिश करी, लेट इट बी. मैंने कहा चीखो चिल्लाओ जो मर्जी करो, आई विल नॉट डू दिस, आई विल नॉट डू. पर उसके बावजूद भी वो भूलता नहीं है. फिर चुप होकर थोड़ी देर बाद फिर वापस उसी स्लॉट पर आ जाता है. एज जैसे भाई ने अगर ब्लॉक्स नहीं लगाए तो वो उसे मारेगा, गंदा भाई गंदा भाई गंदा भाई. फिर वो इंश्योर करता है कि भाई हंसे, भाई हैप्पी हो जा, भाई हैप्पी हो जा, भाई हैप्पी हो जा. अगर भाई हैप्पी नहीं हुआ तो उसे हिट करेगा. मीन्स हमें जबरदस्ती हैप्पी होना पड़ता है. हम हैप्पी है और मतलब तुम आगे बढ़ो, पर वो रुक जाता है. वो हैप्पी हो जाओ जैसे क्लास भी करता है. अगर मान लो मैं गुस्सा कर दूं, शाउट कर दूं, नहीं आपको आंसर देना है, आपको बैठना है, आपको सुनना है मैम को, तो वो हेड हिलाने लग जाएगा. मैं बोलूंगी नहीं सुनना है, उसके बाद भी वो कहता है हैप्पी हो जाओ मम्मा एंड स्टार्ट किसिंग मी. फिर वो किस करता रहेगा, हैप्पी हो जाओ हैप्पी हो जाओ. फिर मैं बोलती हूँ हैप्पी हो गई, तब उसके बाद ही वो कुछ करता है. मीन्स वो ये बिहेवियर स्टॉप नहीं करता. वो को कहता है कि हैप्पी हो गई मम्मा तो अब मेरी बात फिर से मान जा, लाइक दिस.
मतलब आप अगर आप हैप्पी हो गए, इसकी बात मान गए, तो फिर आगे एक और बिहेवियर शुरू कर देगा.
फिर आगे एक और बिहेवियर शुरू हो जाएगा. अगर मैं वो बिहेवियर नहीं मानूंगी तो फिर कभी कभी तो मान जाएगा, कभी कभी तो बिल्कुल नहीं मानता. फिर पूरा मेल्ट डाउन हो जाता है. पर मेरा रंबलिंग का स्टेज ही नहीं आने देता, वो रेज पे चला जाता है सीधा ही, और वो इतना हिट करता है.
ही इज अ वेरी स्मार्ट किड. देखिए द थिंग इज कि आपने अच्छा, इस बार ये जो रेस आपकी और उसके बीच में होती है, स्ट्रगल होता है, उसमें 90% ऑफ द टाइम्स मुझे लगता है वही जीतता होगा.
199.9% वही जीता है.
तो
मुझे उसी की बात माननी पड़ती
तो
है.
गलती उसकी नहीं है, गलती आपकी है. सबसे पहली बात ये है कि आपको थोड़ी सी अप्रोच चेंज करनी पड़ेगी. जैसे सपोज उसने किसी को हिट किया, आपने बोला नो. एक जो नो वर्ड है ना, डिक्शनरी से ये निकाल. जो नो वर्ड है ये सबको तंग करता है. अगर आप कोई काम कर रहे हो, मैं आपको बोलूं नो यू डोंट हैव टू डू दैट, आप खुद सोचो आपकी साइकोलॉजी, आपके माइंड को कितना हर्ट होगा. नो कैसे बोल दिया. इंस्टेड ऑफ नो, अगर हम उसको ये बोले आप एक अच्छे बच्चे हो, ऐसी चीजें नहीं करते, चोट लग जाएगी भैया को, then it becomes a better logical answer to explain the reason कि why you should not do that. आप बात समझे. अगर आपने कोई चीज उठा के फेंकी, मैंने बोला नो डोंट डू दिस अगेन, तो उसको ये लगेगा कि यार यू आर नॉट द सुप्रीम पावर, आप मेरे को कैसे डिक्टेट कर सकते हो. किसी को नहीं अच्छा लगता कि आप मेरे को डिक्टेट करो. तो अगर आप उसको इन अ बेटर वे एज अ फ्रेंड अगर आप अप्रोच करो, उसको बोलो कि आप अगर ऐसे थ्रो करोगे किसी को लग जाएगी, इट्स अ बैड थिंग, यू आर अ गुड बॉय, दूसरे को हर्ट होगा, उसको पेन होगा, देन ही विल एबल टू रियलाइज एंड कोरिलेट दोस थिंग्स कि हाँ मम्मा ने मुझे कुछ ऐसी चीज बताई है जिससे कि मुझे नहीं करना चाहिए, इट्स अ बैड. सो हर चीज का आप कुछ एक लॉजिकल रीजन देना शुरू करो. आप जैसे
मैंने सॉरी टू से इंटरप्ट, पर मैंने लॉजिकल रीजन दिया तो वो हर रीजन के लिए ना पूछने लग गया, क्योंकि बताओ क्योंकि बताओ क्योंकि. वो ऐसे बोलता है मुझे कि बताओ क्यों नहीं करना. फिर मैं बोलती हूँ, फिर वो रीजन बोल के बोलता है क्योंकि लाइक दिस.
क्योंकि वो आपको अटेंशन सीकिंग ले रहा है. आपको बोलता है मम्मा गुड हो जाओ, मम्मा हैप्पी हो जाओ. उसको पता है मम्मा हैप्पी हो जाएंगी, मैं आगे एक और कर लूंगा. उसको आपकी तरफ से ग्रीन सिग्नल चाहिए कि मम्मा खुश है तो बस मैं सब कुछ कर सकता हूँ. आपको वो सिग्नल देना ही नहीं है. क्योंकि उसको बोलने दो. सिर्फ आपकी इंस्ट्रक्शन सिंगल होनी चाहिए. दिस इज नॉट अ बिहेवियर विच इज एक्सेप्टेड. आपको ऐसा नहीं करना है, दूसरों को लग जाएगी बस. अब वो क्योंकि करे कुछ करे, जस्ट गो अवे फ्रॉम दैट सिचुएशन एंड. अब अगर वो पढ़ाई कर रहा है, आपने उसको बोला आपको पढ़ाई करनी है, आपने बोला टीचर की बात सुननी है आपको, ये मत बोलो सुननी है, टीचर की बात सुनो, नहीं तो आपको समझ नहीं आएगा. कुछ भी एक छोटा मोटा जो भी एक आपको लॉजिकल रीजन देना है. कहने का मतलब ये है कि जब भी कोई चीज दो ना उसको सिंगल वर्ड में मत बोलो नहीं, नो, एक रीजन दे दो कि ये नहीं करना। अब अगर वो बोलता है अच्छा क्योंकि आपने एक बार समझा दिया क्योंकि, बार-बार क्योंकि वो आपकी अटेंशन सीक करना चाह रहा है। क्योंकि वो कुछ बोलेगा क्योंकि तो आपको एक रिस्पॉन्स मिलता है, ही फील्स हैप्पी कि चलो मैं मम्मा को डोमिनेट कर रहा हूँ। सो इन दैट केस यू डोंट हैव टू आर्ग्यू विद हिम। जस्ट गिव वन रिस्पॉन्स क्योंकि वो बार-बार एक ही चीज़ को बोल रहा है और आप एक ही चीज़ को या 2-2 3-3 चीज़ को रिस्पॉन्स करती हो, कोई दूसरा जवाब देती हो, कोई वो समझाने की कोशिश करती हो। वो अपनी एक ही रट पे लगा रखता है क्योंकि बिकॉज़ ही इज़ गेटिंग दैट रिस्पॉन्स फ्रॉम यू एग्ज़ैक्टली व्हाट ही वांट्स, क्योंकि उसके लिए वो एक अटेंशन सीकिंग है। तो आपको वहाँ पे इतना स्ट्रगल नहीं करना, एक ही रिस्पॉन्स देना है, येस दिस इज़ द थिंग, दिस यू हैव टू डू। अब अगर वो नहीं करता है कोई बात नहीं, यू जस्ट मूव अवे फ्रॉम द सिचुएशन। 1 बार नहीं करेगा, 2 बार नहीं करेगा, 3 बार नहीं करेगा, हो सकता है 10 बार तक ना करे। अगर फिर नहीं करता ना तो आपको कुछ वो करना है, कुछ अल्टरनेटिव करना। अब रंबलिंग और उस स्टेज में वो क्यों आता है? क्योंकि आप जैसे बता रहे हो मोर देन 100% ऑफ द टाइम वो रेस विन कर देता है। अगर 100 बार वो जीत गया, अब 101th टाइम अगर आप आते हो और आप मना करते रहते हो, करते रहते हो, करते रहते हो, तो वो तो रंबलिंग स्टेज से आगे जाएगा ही जाएगा। उसको ये लगेगा यार मम्मा ने 100 बार तो मेरी बात मान ली, आज क्या हो गया क्यों नहीं मानूँ? आज तो मैं पूरे दिन रोऊँगा, आज तो मैं पूरे दिन टैंट्रम थ्रो करूँ। तो वो दिन आपके पास अभी आएगा जहाँ वो शायद हो सकता है 24 घंटे तक रोए, क्योंकि वो 100 बार जीत चुका है आपसे। तो आपको एक बार तो जीतना पड़ेगा और वो जीतने का टारगेट आपका हो सकता है 24 घंटे हो, 48 घंटे हो। इट मे बी इज़ दैट मच स्ट्रगल। बट एक बार अगर आपने वो विन कर लिया, देन नेक्स्ट टाइम ही विल बी थिंक दैट दे विल बी इन द माइंड कि मम्मा से मैं नहीं जीत सकता, मम्मा ने 2 दिन तक मुझे कुछ नहीं बोला। तो येस, दिस टाइम दैट struggle period might reduce to maybe 6 hours, maybe 4 hours, and then gradually it might come. But एक बार you have to.
But do you really feel if he keeps on crying, so does it not affect his brain or something like that?
Nothing will be affected. Nothing will be affected. This is totally, this is actually this is not the thing that it's basically our parental touch and emotions that we feel. ऐसा कुछ नहीं। और बच्चा भी इतना स्मार्ट है, अगर आप उसको देखते रहोगे वहाँ पे वो एक कोने में रो रहा है, यू कीप ऑन पीपिंग फ्रॉम द विंडो कि वो रो तो नहीं रहा, कुछ कर तो नहीं रहा, यू ऑब्जर्व योरसेल्फ। अगर आप पीप करोगे ना वो देखता रहेगा, हर 10-10 मिनट बाद देखेगा कि मम्मा देख तो नहीं रही। अगर मम्मा देख रही है तो और रोने लग जाए, मम्मा देख तो नहीं, अगर देख रही है तो और रोने लग जाएगा। जस्ट गो अवे फ्रॉम दैट सिचुएशन, जस्ट गो अवे फ्रॉम दैट। बट कीप ऑब्जर्विंग एज आई हैव टोल्ड यू, कीप करते रहो कि कुछ ऐसा तो नहीं कर रहा जहाँ पे वो इंजीरियस हो या कुछ चीजें थ्रो कर रहा है, अपना हेड बैंगिंग कर रहा हो। इफ इज डूइंग इन दैट केस, देन यू हैव टू डू अ फिजिकल इंटरवेंशन। होल्ड हिज हैंड्स, टेक हिम टू अ calm environment, make him relax, then those are the separate things that you have to do once he goes into a stage of meltdown. But वो क्यों जा रहा है हमने उस पर डिस्कस किया, तो work on that so that it doesn't pass on to the further stages of meltdown.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move
Ma'am,
on to
can
the
I?
next question. Yeah. Once again, some people have raised hands. We'll take in that order, please. Please hold on. Sangeeta, you can go ahead now. Yeah, Sangeeta.
Hello, I'm Sangeeta from Chennai. My son is 6 years old. When he get angry, he's biting his own hand and always pinching us also. How many times we say, don't do that. He's pinching and pulling us. How to change that behavior, sir?
First of all, again, the important thing is why the child is doing that. I'm asking you, why he's doing that.
If we say something to do, he don't want to do that. If we ask to speak, is non-verbal. When we ask him to speak some words, if he don't want to do that, he is pinching us. And also sometimes if he's due to lockdown, he's in the home itself. When he feels bored, he come to us, he will start pinching us. Even we will encourage. I will encourage him in writing or anything. He want to do what only he want to do. He never do what we are saying, right? Like write this, write what is your name, write Nitin. He won't do that. He will start writing in his own like a apple like that. He want that only. He will for that he will pinch us. How to change that and how to make them adapt for our words, sir?
See, first of all, as I've told you, there might be many things which are there in the child. First of all, he might be pinching, he might be pushing. That may be because of the tactile issues. He may be having that sensory craving. He might be continuously, he want that, sensory needs in his hands or fingers, what we call as tactile issues. Other thing, he's taking a lot of things in the mouth. They may be oromotor sensory issues. That means, the oromotor sensory system may be hypo, hyper, or maybe mixed. Sensory craving means he has a craving towards a lot of things. So probably he may be taking hard things, as you have told, everything he takes in the mouth. So that gives the sensory input which is required for his mouth. So you first of all you have to work on his oromotor sensory issues. That why those things are happening, as you have told, is not fully verbal. So probably I believe oromotor sensory issues could be high. So in that case, firstly you have to get in touch with your therapist who is dealing with oromotor part. Regarding the hitting part, regarding the pushing and tactile issues, you provide him with the replacement. Now, replacement behavior means you provide him with different textures of grain. As from your history, I believe he is having high tactile issues. So provide him with different textures of grains. Take me rajma le lo, take in rajma, take in one rice, take take plate up, take sandpaper, or take different textures. Take lukewarm water, take normal water. You can take sand, play sand with the children play. So all those things you can take in one hand. You can take clay, you can take therapeutic. So different textures you prepare and let the child play through. So probably when his hands will get in touch with different textures of things, that tactile and sensory needs will come down. Okay. So this is one.
Okay, sir.
Other thing, if he's pushing, you can provide him with different hard texture, as I've told, sandbag, or provide him with a pillow and tell him, okay, you play with that, hit him hard as much as you want. Give him some small soft toys so that he can crunch his hands, that sensory needs might come. So these are some of the examples to which you can work on.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, we will move on a bit past now. It's been an hour, doctor has been speaking, because I'm sure everyone. So next we go to Srinivas. He has also raised hand for a long time. Srinivas, yeah. You want to ask something? Otherwise, I'll move on to the next one. Anand, you can go ahead if you're ready with your question.
Yeah, I can. Okay. So, Doctor, my son is 13 years old, and he has become highly adamant after coming to teenage. He will not simply do anything. I'll just give one or two examples. For example, we have come back from an auto rickshaw drive. He will simply not get down from the auto rickshaw. Or, for example, for last 6 hours today, I am trying to take him to bath. We are not forcing anything. We just hand over the hand shower to him and allow him to bath the way he likes. But now almost 6 hours are over and he's still not going there. We want to take him for learning or for play without forcing anything in the most playful manner. But he will not simply listen. Accidentally he picks up a mobile phone, he will not leave it. So the adamancy has become to such a great extent that we are not able to teach him anything anymore. And this has become a big hurdle now.
What is the age you have told?
He's already 13 years.
So see, this is the early adolescence age of the child. And adolescence age is actually a very difficult age. Here the child will think that I am not a kid, and he will also think that elders cannot dominate on him. And this is a very tough state even for a neurotypical child. And taking into consideration when the child is in the spectrum, modification in this stage of adolescence is very difficult to be managed by the parents. So I would suggest you, without any wasting time, that you should get in touch with cognitive behavioral therapists who can give you and devote time and work with the child to one-to-one session.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, doctor. Bhargavi, you want to go next? Bhargavi, you have put a message on chat also. Are you ready with your question? Quickly, we'll try to wrap. Bhargavi, you have
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Hi, sir. Really wonderful session. Just one query. The daughter is 6 years old. If you take her to therapy classes and outside and all, she's just remaining a normal behavior. But at home, it's just reflecting, sir. Whatever we say, she's remembering the words from there. We're asking to keep here like that. She's screaming whatever. Normally, if we speak also, she's screaming off and she's slapping herself. So it's like now the situation is not even ordering. Normal talk itself, I don't know. She's not able to take it up and getting too much irritation, sir. Always getting irritated for whatever we say and slapping. For example, brushing or come, let's take bath. Or sometimes don't do this, don't do that, or whatever we say. Everything is now looking like command and like this for her, and so she's slapping herself and shouting, sir. So don't know how to. Should I ignore
Okay.
or how what to
Okay.
do it?
Okay.
It just started.
In the therapy is
It
totally
doesn't have
comfortable.
any behavior issues at all. Just started. Sorry. Yeah.
In the therapy sessions, he's absolutely fine.
Yeah. Therapy sessions, she's not doing like this. That's why they
Okay.
are watching. Here, she's very silent.
Okay.
She's
Okay.
going into mute or just doing how much ever she can.
Okay.
But at home only, we are not at all able to open our mouth. After
Okay.
coming to home, she's getting very arrogant and playing with water, pouring oil, this, that, and all messy. If you ask her to just not even commanding, we are avoiding no actually. Instead of that, come, let's do this only. We are calling. I
Okay.
don't know
Okay.
whatever we tell.
Okay,
She's
ma'am.
taking.
I have listened to your question. I'll just respond now. See, the thing is, try to not to go to the therapy for 3 to 4 days. First of all. Okay. Hello. Hello. Hello.
I'm listening, sir.
Yeah, doctor, you can speak. There was some noise, so I muted her. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So first of all, as you have told that she's absolutely fine at the therapy sessions, and then after coming from the therapy at home, she starts showing all that behaviors. So first and foremost important is antecedent is A, that he's coming before going to the therapy, and after she's fine. When he comes back from the therapy, she starts showing all those behaviors. So first and foremost important thing you have to look is, see, the child in the therapy session is in a restricted area. Once he comes at his home, he is in his own natural environment. And the child will show all his discomfort and happiness when he is in his natural environment.
Okay.
So probably,
sorry, sir. Even before going to therapy, also at home, generally at home.
Okay, at home. Okay, fine. So probably either the therapy sessions which being done on the child, either they are too much exhaustive, or the things which are being done on the child, he gets a too much sensory overload. Because there might be two things. Once he is going to the therapy sessions, he knows that now this is 2 o'clock, I have to go to the therapy sessions. That anxiety, that sensory issues, or whatever may be the thing, might build up, and he may start showing behaviors indicating that I don't want to go to the therapy session. And once he come back, she might be having lot of issues that he may not be happy. See, a simple reason I'm telling, the child may not be happy. Happy in the sense he might be doing lot of activities, or he's maybe overburdened with the activities which he may not be able to cope up. The child is doing those activities because he knows that this is the restricted environment, probably because of the fear of the parents or the fear of the therapist. He knows that I cannot behave, and she knows that this is a therapy session for 1 to 2 hours. Somehow I will remove it, and then I will show all my aggression and angerness to my parents at home, because that's my natural environment. So first and foremost thing is, discuss with the therapist that what is happening, why my child is doing all these behaviors, are he being overburdened with the therapies, or are we doing too much exercises for him? This is the first and foremost. If they are not able to figure out, you have to figure out, try to stop going therapy sessions for a period of 5 to 6 years. It will not cause any harm if you stop going for 5 to 6 years, but it will definitely give you some insight that is those therapy sessions are hampering my child. If your answer comes out to be yes, and if he is comfortable within those 5 to 6 days, then probably you have to change the attitude, you have to change the mode of doing the therapies with the child. Okay. So once you are not going to the therapy session for 5 to 6 years, probably in 1 or 2 days, he will still doing that, because there will be something in his mind that, oh, mama is not going today, he might go tomorrow. So stop going for therapy session for 5 to 6 days, and then observe the child's behavior, how she responds. This is the first and foremost thing which I would suggest you to do, and then observe.
Yes, sir. And if I can figure it out as an attention seeking in some instant, that time what to do, sir? Like, example, if you go to toilet, she's just knocking the door and she's expecting me to come and close the door. She needs my presence that I can make out.
No, you just tell him you have to close the door. You are grown enough, and just go away from that situation. You don't let her scream, let her shout. Don't worry. Once you are sure it is an attention-seeking behavior, don't give the attention. That is the goal. That's it.
If it is for brushing and all, we have to be firm, is it, sir? No, this is the time to brush, so you have to, is it?
Yes, but depends upon what was the preceding factor which has aggravated that situation. As you have told that after coming from the therapy, she starts doing all those behaviors and continues. So even if that behavior happens, instead of before not going to the therapies also, then yes, you have to be firm in that particular approach. Or it might be oromotor also. See, you are introducing a brush, the child may not be having that sensory system, maybe not that well developed in the oromotor issue. Or introducing something might be disturbing. You should don't want anything to be allowed in his mouth. So that may be a factor which might be causing him oromotor or sensory meltdowns or maybe sensory or behavioral issues. So also you have to figure out into the terms of oromotor issues. So discuss with your therapist that are there any oromotor issues in my child which are causing not introducing the brush into his mouth.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll just take last one or two question, please. Doctor, is it okay? If you're
Sir,
okay.
Yeah, please,
Sir.
we'll take. Yeah.
So we'll move a little fast. Kavita, do you want to speak? I saw you have.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Hello, Dr. Mittal. My daughter is 12 and a half years old, and she's almost of my height. And she's showing a severe behaviors by completely falling on me, especially in the bathroom. She's not completely potty trained, so I'm trying to be with her. So she is showing the behaviors like falling on me, and she's like, I cannot able to tolerate her falling on me. I try to step out of the bathroom, and she's trying to get my attention because she has pica. She's trying to get up from the toilet seat and trying to eat the soap, hand soap, or she's standing on the toilet seat.
Okay. See, first of all, this is clearly negates that the child is having oromotor sensory issues, and that too at a very high degree. Now, taking soaps, taking toilet things, and those things that clearly negate that she is too much sensory craving. Is she having a need-based speech?
She is non-verbal.
She is non-verbal. So that itself is a very big reason for his showing aggressive behaviorism. So right now, although it's very easy for me to tell you that start working on the oromotor issues, but at the age of 12 years, as I've told, adolescence age is something which is actually very, it's a very tough age. It's very tough age to explain anything to any child. And so the best thing would be right now is, first of all, you start working on his oromotor issues. Since she's a non-verbal child, so itself becomes a very big factor of his aggression and frustration, because psychology will be very well done, but she's non-verbal, so that itself will give him a lot of frustration, and she may show a lot of misbehaviors in order to gain attention with either of the parents. So start working on his oromotor issues, the first and foremost thing. Probably if you start working on his oromotor issues, once he starts speaking sounds, monosyllable, banding happens, then probably at least she becomes at the stage of a need-based speech, so that she can express his needs, daily routines, probably the behaviors can settle down to by 30 to 50%. Then lately we can work on those behaviors. So get in touch with an oral placement therapist as early as possible.
Okay, doctor, sure. And I can clearly say that she's like needs my attention, and she's doing only with me in the bathroom to get my attention. So I don't know how to figure that out. I mean, falling on.
Yeah, that's you have to get out from that situation. But again, it's tough that it cannot be accompanied by any other person. So the thing is that you just have to get out from the bathroom and tell her firmly you have to take the bath. And if she doesn't take the bath, if she doesn't try to do it by its own, just don't give her the bath during that. That would be the only thing I would suggest, because attention seeking means you have to avoid giving attention, and avoid giving attention in this scenario is you have to come out from that scenario of bath.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's the problem. I cannot.
As I've told you in the beginning, it's very easy for me to tell from here, but it's actually a difficult scenario. She's a girl and at the age of 13, plus she's non-verbal. So the best thing, practical approach would be right now, at least make her verbal so that he can express his need-based speech. That will become easier for her to express things.
Sure, sir. Sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we would like to close the session.
Ma'am, yeah, just a small question.
Vijay Kumar, yeah, I just last one probably from Vijay Kumar. Go
Yeah.
ahead, go ahead.
So my name is Vijay. Actually, my son is 4.5 years old. Actually, my son always recently I have been observing from last 10 days. He's trying to bang his head for attention seeking from our side. He's doing only at this behavior we will see when we've been taking at some any objects, whatever he's playing with his objects or something. So if we take out that object from his hand, so then he'll start doing it. So he'll start banging his head, and even if we try to control him, he will not control it, and he goes on and banging it. So it's making us to make us tensed. Like he may hit in hardly or something maybe happen to the brain or something like that.
See, first of all, if it is an attention-seeking behavior, the
Right.
child is very smart. He will not hit to that an extent that it will damage him or cause any harm. Attention-seeking behavior, he will be doing only to that extent so that you gain attention towards him. Whenever a child does head banging, in terms of gaining attention, they will never hit to that an extent that they can damage themselves, because it's not a meltdown, it's not any sense overload, it's just an attention seeking. And this behavior can happen in any person, any child.
Suppose we move out from that place, he come to our place, and again he start banging over there.
So let him do. You don't observe the child at all. Just keep on working. Don't give him an eye contact. Even if you're sitting in one room, he comes at your place and he starts banging. Definitely, suppose he's doing in a head banging in the drawing room area. You are sitting there. You tell him no, you don't have to do. He's still doing. You come out and go into your bedroom. In the bedroom, he runs behind you and he starts doing in front of you. What will be your reaction? One or two times you'll do. Then again you will tell, stop doing it. Don't do it. Why you are doing that? I have told you so many times. Just don't give any response, because that exactly what he wants. He wants a reaction, and he will do that action. So you know that for every reaction there is an action. This is a very basic law of physics. So when we will follow that law, we will get a reaction. That is natural. So forget about him, just ignore him totally and keep working on your laptop. Whatever thing you are giving, avoid giving any eye contact. It doesn't mean that you should be verbally silent. You also don't have to give an eye contact. If you give an eye contact, he gets that reaction, he will show that action.
No, yes, sir. My question is whether this maybe brings him to go into the severe case like a meltdown, or it may increase.
No. Right now, as you have told, it will not go into a stage of meltdown or anything. You just have to avoid that. And since he's doing only since last 10 days or so, he might have seen, or he might have tried this behavior in order to gain something. For example, suppose he's playing with some toy and you told him, okay, I will take this. You don't have to play with this toy. It will break. If you take it, he may start hitting his head banging. He may start doing an head banging that,
Yes.
okay, my papa has taken this toy. I want to play this. I'll start doing head banging, and papa will see me. Oh, you will hurt yourself. She will give. Probably you might have given him that toy initially when he started doing this behavior or head banging, and now he knows that papa has given me toy when he started doing this behavior, so he will give it now also, even if I do it 50 times.
Okay.
Okay.
So he'll headbang it and he'll start crying it.
Let him cry. You give him the consequence. Okay, if you are doing the head banging, you have to do this thing. Make him do some activity. For example, you can give him a wheelbarrow. Okay, you have to do a wheelbarrow. Okay, you have to do a push-ups. Raise his hands, some hard physical activity, tell him to do. Okay, you have to jump for 20 times. Okay, you have to do a frog jump. If you head bang again, then you have to do a frog jump for 10 times. Okay, this is how you should do.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll just take a look at the chat box, doctor. I mean,
yeah, actually, Dipanvita, it's actually a very broad topic.
Exactly.
And definitely, the list can be endless on this topic. We can discuss on this even for 2 days. That could be even less on this topic.
We can do that also, no, doctor? If you want, we can have a sequel to this also, as in we can continue this. It's fine. Because I can see. Okay, doctor, if you are asking for your contact coordinates, would you like to type it out in the chat?
You can. You
want me to type? Yeah, I'll do. So you have any appointment number, doctor? Probably it'll help if we put that up here.
I will give you the clinic WhatsApp number.
Yeah, please give. No, I'll type it out.
Yeah, just a minute.
Yeah. So,
81. Hello.
Yes, tell me. 81
781
781
63
63
066.
066. I repeat, 817 816 3066. So
Yes.
parents, whoever are asking for doctor's appointment number, kindly get in touch with this number and take an appointment with Dr. Lalit.
Okay. And they can also email us, Giggles
Please tell
Clinics
me.
at the rate
Yeah,
of,
yeah.
Giggles Clinic, GIGG.
Yeah, I think I know this. Giggles Clinics, right?
Yeah, Giggles Clinics at the rate of gmail.com.
Gmail, I know this. Yeah. Okay. So I'll just probably, okay. There's somebody, Rayang, she's asking a question. There's one question in the chat. My AN982 Punna Srinivas, I think we might have missed this. My son is IDD, 12 years old. Whenever my son is excited, he starts grinding of teeth. Whenever he's refused to act something, and also he's angry, he bites his, I think, okay, grinding, biting, more of teeth related.
IDD means to say intellectual disability.
Are you there, Sir Punna Srinivas? You can have a word
yes,
with the doctor.
yes,
Yeah.
intellectual disability. Of course, he's a verbal, but
Okay.
not in the within.
Okay. Okay. So what is the age of the child?
12 years, sir.
12 years. See, the important thing is teeth grinding, or as you are telling, he's grinding his teeth most of the time and making sounds. Probably he might be having a lot of high anxiety issues, I believe. So yeah, so the important thing which you have to observe is this teeth grinding happening in any particular situation when it is happening? Have you observed any particular situation?
Mostly, but when he is going to be excited or going to eat.
Exactly. The word I used, the anxiety.
Yes.
So that is exactly what is happening in the child. Because in most of the cases, in 90% of the cases, teeth grinding, what we call technically bruxism. So it happens in majority of the cases as a result of anxiety. Other than this, if the child is having, the worm infestation issues, since the child is 11 to 12 years, so worm infestation is likely not to happen at this stage. So the anxiety is a big problem. So here, what you have to do, just try to modify, because he's not able to express his emotions in a positive way. And that comes out in a form of excitement. Probably, I just give an example, probably if he wants a cake, he's very fond of chocolate. He sees a chocolate, he may start doing the teeth grind. He may not be expressed, he may not be able to that, yes, I want a chocolate. So just make him calm down, tell him, okay, if you want a chocolate, relax, calm down, we'll give you a chocolate. So in this way, you have to work with the child in this purpose. Other than this, just get a dental checkup just to rule out if there are no dental issues associated with the child, which I believe are unlikely.
Yeah, there is no dental problem. So
Exactly. So anxiety is the one you have to work with the child on anxiety, because once he crosses the age of 15 to 16 years, and once he reaches that age of teenage, like 17 to 18, and if the anxiety doesn't settle down, if it increases, then probably we have to put the child on anti-anxiety medication. Okay.
Thank you.
So try to figure out on these and work on these anxiety levels. Once if it gets down, that's good.
Okay, I think we missed Rayangsh. Okay, she raised hands. I think she didn't speak. Do you want to speak, Rayangsh?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah. You can please go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir, for the wonderful session. I got some answers, but one specific concern I wanted to check. Since last 2 days, my son wants to switch off the light of the living room. And if you, even if he is sitting in another room and the light is on, he will suddenly come, noticing the shadow of the light, and he comes and switches it off. He also does not want to, participate in most of the activities that he knows, like playing cricket, betting, or sitting down activities. He just gets very anxious, and he just starts putting everything aside. Like, we have a ball pool which has all his study stuff, and he have one bag, so he just starts arranging them and puts it back.
Since it's happening in a very short duration, since last 1 or 2 days, as you told, it's a very short duration span. So probably something is there which might have disturbed him, or he might.
He had fever. Last week he had fever. He was not well, so he was lying down most of the time, and he couldn't do all the activities that he was doing otherwise.
Okay. See, you have given me the answer. You know the answer exactly. See, once the child has gone, the medical issues are there, and he had a fever, and definitely when you imagine yourself, if we are having a high grade fever, our body is not well. We don't want like to do anything. We feel fatigue, we feel weakness. Just switch off the light, close the activities, and we want to just keep our mind relaxed. So probably the same thing is happening in the child. Although his fever is settled down, but there might be a weakness in the child that may be disturbing him. So don't worry about that. Just give him that period of calmness so that his body recovers. Give him some good diet, give him some diet, and don't force him to do those activities. Just try to make him calm, relax, give him some soothing music, and don't bother about the academics right now, even if he's not doing. And if he's switching off the lights and he feels good, accept that and respect his decisions so that he becomes comfortable during that period. And once that period of 10 to 15 days over, his recovery is back, probably he will be back on this routine.
But the problem is that, sir, I'm okay with him not doing anything. I'm
Okay.
sitting down, but what he does is he wants mobile, and he wants one particular mobile of my mother. And even if the battery goes down, he is not ready to
No,
let
no.
it
See,
the battery.
see that is a different thing. That you have to strictly say no. And if that now this is a behavior. See, now he's taking an advantage that sitting idle doesn't mean that he can do whatever he wants. Sitting idle means he can do what is acceptable in a social way, which he normally does. Now, if he goes into a negative thing, you have to do a negative reinforcement to bring back the behavior in a positive way. Remove the mobile from him, okay, or provide him in some alternative thing. Okay, if you want to see a mobile, you see this video, you see this academic video of a story or anything which will give him some video modeling, which will give him some language, whatever, depending upon the ability of the child. If you want to see a video, okay, see, but it will be seen. These are 3 videos which you can see. You cannot see all those stuff. Then the mobile will be taken. And that too, you have to give the time period for 15 to 20 minutes or half an hour, depending upon your requirement and depending upon the feasibility. This is the time period, and these are the videos you can see. If you want, you can see. Otherwise, no videos.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, sir, I will try this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. I think one last one, doctor. Sorry about it.
Okay, Dipamita, we'll take the last question then.
Last question. Yeah. I know you've been speaking since almost 1.5 hours now.
Yeah.
Arhin Sinha, he had raised his hands, has been waiting for you. Whenever my son is excited, he flaps his hand or pushes the other person. And whenever he's angry, he bites his own hand. How can I control this behavior?
See, first of all, in the first scenario, when he is excited, he bites his pushes, that is an anxiety. That is means he's basically not doing this behavior in a negative way. He's basically doing it because he gets so much excited and he's not able to regulate his emotions, which is a core feature in the spectrum kids, what we call as dysregulation of emotions. So in this case, as I've told to one of the parents previously, that you have to just teach him to calm down, relax, teach him calming down exercises. Now, what are calming down exercises? Whenever he does that, give him some squeeze balls in his hand and tell him to squeeze 20 times. Or tell him to jump on the floor on the spot for 20 times. Or tell him to squeeze like this. See, he's having that extra sensory craving when he gets excited in his hands. Tell him to give wall pushes on the walls. Give him hard pushes so that when he hits on his hand, he gets that extra sensory need which is there, that anxiety, that craving which happens in his hand. Because he gets excited, he wants to do something, so that craving is there in hand. Replace it with a positive thing of what we call as replacement behavior. Squeeze balls, jumping on the ground, jumping on the floor, squeezing up and down. When you try to do this thing 50 times, you will see how much pressure and relaxation you feel in your hands. The same thing will the child will be able to feel that. Or wall pushes. So this is for your first part, that when he gets excited, he starts doing that. And what was the second part? He starts biting when he gets angry. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. Yeah, that's the same thing. Whenever he is angry, he bites his own hand. I mean, both are one is excited and one is angry. Yeah, that's
angry. See, angry, again, you have to look why the child gets angry. This is first and foremost important thing. Are you telling something no to the child which he wants, or are you shouting at him? So these are the things you have to look, and then accordingly we have to see why that behavior happens, and again you have to provide him with the replacement behavior, either through a positive reinforcement or with a negative reinforcement, depending upon what type of behavior it is. It is attention seeking, tangible, or it is due to sensory meltdowns, or it is avoidance or escape. So depending upon the scenarios, we have to again approach the child.
Thank you. Thank you, doctor.
Okay.
Thank you, parents. Thank you, doctor, for patiently answering so many questions. I think it's a very, very wonderful and engaging session from the parent side also. Thank you.
Yes,
Parents.
yes.
Yeah, yeah. We might consider again coming back with this, probably with, you know, more questions and more things to cover. Okay. Thank you, doctor. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you,
Closing off
Deepamita.
now.
Thank you.
Good night. Good night, doctor,
Good night.
and good night, parents. Lovely
Thank
session.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.